We are here, and I feel a big old fat drift coming on. It's gonna come out real solid, a real solid drift. I feel inside me.
Oh, good Lord!
Baking. You asked me to do a cold open, so if you haven't listened to the first two episodes, this is 3. This is Tokyo Drift.
Also,
you don't have to listen to these in order.
Welcome to the non-essential.
Hold on. I was gonna wait until I did the intro. I'm gonna hit the intro right now.
Okay.
My fingers on the keyboard had little minds of their own. I was rolling along, writing my usual scathing but civilized comments, and suddenly a sinister inner force took over, and I found myself typing, and I quote, "I hated this movie. Hated this movie. Hated every simply stupid, vacant, audience-insulting moment of it," unquote, and so on. Altogether, I used the word hated 10 times.
All right. I didn't hate this movie. Did you hate this movie?
No.
Were you looking forward to this movie?
I was. I might have given myself too much hype, though, so...
Really?
Yeah.
For Tokyo Drift.
Also, before we start, welcome to the Non-Essential Fountains
There we go.
podcast, episode 3.
I'm so excited to start.
I know. So this is Emily Ehlers and
Lyndon Ehlers,
and
co-hosts.
and we are
The
here
Non-Essential Fountains.
to bring you nonsense.
We're trying to figure out if these movies are needed. That was the first thing I thought when we came up with the idea to do these. I was like, okay, so I guess the thing we're trying to figure out is, should these even exist? Like, are they worth anything?
Right.
And you know what? By the third movie now, I'm ready to say yes. I needed this movie. After the first two pieces of shit, after this one, or before this one, and everybody said this is the worst. And I've went around telling people this is the worst, having not seen it. I don't care if I'm loud. This is... I'm so surprised at how much I liked it.
Right.
Not to say that it wasn't stupid. And not to say that the main character isn't like the stupidest person in any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I kept writing in my notes. His name is Sean in the movie. He's played by Lucas Black. I just kept writing dweeb.
Yeah.
Because he's a dweeb.
Okay. You said that earlier, and I don't know if I agree that he's a dweeb, but I think he's a fucking moron.
He is.
And they make him such, like, and I mentioned it when we were watching it, like, this is, like, his real accent. Because I've seen him in other movies. I've seen him in other movies that are, like, better.
To
like
clarify, he has a very strong southern accent.
Yeah, I don't know if he's actually from Alabama, but he's supposed to be from Alabama in this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They
Alabama.
do they ever actually say that, or do we know that just because of his AIM screen name?
I think it's just his AIM screen name.
Bama boy. Bama_boy.
So we'll get into...
Yeah, I'm jumping way ahead.
Yeah. So we are excited to dig into the plot of this film.
I'm going to start right away. It's the first one out of 3 to have like a full... Oh, sorry. You have
I have
facts.
my fun facts first.
I'm sorry.
You
okay,
are
I'm
so
jumping
jumping the gun, like
Go ahead.
4 different times.
I'm sorry. I have fun facts too, actually. So.
Well, I will start with my fun facts.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
So
dear.
that I pulled from the internet 10 minutes before we watched the film. So, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift is the 3rd installment in the Fast and the Furious series. It was released in theaters June 4th, 2006. So another June release. I guess these these films just release in June. So the budget for it was $85 million, so even more than the second one.
Yeah,
I think?
the other one was $23 million.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was significantly larger.
Mm-hmm.
The box office made $159 million, which makes it the lowest grossing film in the franchise. The director was Justin Lin, so we have a new director for the film.
And the director for the next bunch of films.
Correct.
I think the rest of the franchise so far.
So this film was, the Wikipedia page just said confirmed. I'm not sure what that means. It was confirmed, and I guess...
Like it's Catholic? Is that this movie's...
Yes, this movie's Catholic. But I couldn't find a clear timeline of, like, filming and, like, casting. So it just says 2005, which I find like kind of hard to believe because this is released in the summer of 2006. They would have filmed everything in like a year. Because I kept seeing dates of like August 2005, which that just seems crazy fast to push out a movie.
I don't know. I honestly, I have no idea. I'm still worried. We have the movie playing, and I'm concerned with all these high school children in the opening.
We'll get to the high school children.
Yeah, let's not forget.
This is the first film in the franchise to have an international filming location in Tokyo. Obviously, it is Tokyo Drift. It received mixed reviews from critics initially, and over the course of, a decade and a half, almost 2 decades now, it has gathered kind of a cult following, and some consider it the best film in the franchise, while others consider it like the absolute worst. So there's a lot of praise for the driving, but not a ton of praise for the acting, and we'll get into that. Within the story, the events take place after Fast and the Furious 6, but before Furious 7. What else? Do you want to go over some of your fun facts?
Yeah, well, okay, so let's see here. So first thing, on Amazon, it is listed as nail biting.
I don't call it nail biting.
I don't know, man. I kind of would on parts of it, but anyways. So basically, man, where do I want to start here?
Vin Diesel shows up.
Okay, yeah, perfect. No, that should be the first thing. So yeah, so I read, so they did test screenings for this, and it just like people just shat on it. So that's when they were like, "Hey, Vin Diesel, like come and make a cameo appearance at the end of this or something," and he said he's only agreed to do it if they gave him the rights to make the third Riddick movie.
Oh.
That came out in 2013. So like he traded like this cameo so he could make, and he made apparently the third Riddick movie independently, which I'm so excited to watch those.
It's interesting. I only read that his cameo in this movie was just uncredited and full stop. Didn't say anything else, right?
That's weird. I read this on IMDb, and yeah, they kind of just like paid him with that. I'm sure he got money too, but the stuff that happened in this, and a lot of it got retconned, and like you said, that's when they pushed it into like the timeline, because this movie now is apparently supposed to take place in 2013 in like the Fast universe.
Yeah, I have no idea what the year is supposed to be in the film universe.
Yeah, this is supposed to be 2013, but I think that's something that they said later on once they kind of like mashed it up in with the other movies.
Interesting.
Once like everything started to be successul.
The events in this movie do take place after Fast and the Furious 6, but before Furious 7.
Yeah. The other thing, the craziest thing I read is they specifically didn't ask Paul Walker to be in this because they thought he was too old.
What? No way.
Paul Walker is too old to be in this movie. I mean, I guess it is a bunch of high school kids, right? And then you have like Han, and you have like the Yakuza boy.
I did not look up the age of the other actors in this. Bow Wow is in this, and he would have been 19. Lucas Black was in his mid-20s, so still kind of passable for a high schooler, but like edging out a little bit. I did keep saying he's the 30-year-old high schooler.
Yeah, well, he walks. When you first see him in the movie, I was like, oh, there's like man boy or something.
Yeah, man child.
Because we ended up having to look at his age, because I'm thinking like I know he's not super old, but he looks like he's in his 30s.
He's just very gaunt. His face is very gaunt.
I don't know. I'm not convinced still, despite. But that's really all I had as far as like interesting stuff. I scribbled some stuff about where it falls in the timeline, but I can't read any of it.
I will go over some of the cast in this. So Lucas Black, so Alabama boy man-child, plays Sean Boswell, the main character, whom I will refer to as Dweeb from here on out. Bow Wow is in it. His character's name is Twinkie. I don't know why. They don't explain why he got the nickname Twinkie. I just kept calling him Bow Wow because Twinkie...
Yeah, why didn't they could have just called him Bow Wow?
I know, that would have been fine.
Does Bow Wow not exist? in the Furious universe.
Zachary Ty Bryan, Home Improvement child.
Yeah.
This was the guy that played Brad in Home Improvement.
Why is he in this? Was Home Improvement even was it on still? It wasn't on still in 2006. Well, it crawled along for a bit. Like
It
remember
did,
that
not
point at one
2006.
point they think Brad is doing cocaine or something.
Oh Jesus.
It's really stupid. But I don't know.
Who else? Brian Tay, excuse me, I don't know how to pronounce his name, is Takashi, also known as DK. So you'll hear me call him Donkey Kong frequently. DK stands for Drift King. Interesting thing about this actor is he played Shredder in the 2016 Turtles film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. So
Is that like it though?
No, he had a bunch of stuff in between, but that was the only thing that like I super recognized.
Anything of any note.
I'm a normie. I don't
Well,
know. So.
I mean, okay.
And what else was in theaters at this time? So on June 4th, 2006, or I guess in the month of June in 2006, we have Nacho Libre, Cars, The Da Vinci Code, X-Men The Last Stand, The Omen, Superman Returns, and Click. So I hope so. Get into 2006.
A mixed bag. A mixed bag of dog shit and like some cool stuff in there. Like, I don't know. It lost. You said earlier that. Wait, did it lose to Cars? Because that's hilarious.
It did. Or no, wait. I think on its. Did I write it down? I'm pretty sure it beat Cars for like one weekend. Its release weekend.
Okay.
I don't think it did not beat Cars overall though.
Well, I mean, I can understand. Like, overall, I can see where when this came out, people would have hated it. You know, but as I watch it at 35, when it's been out for almost how many years now? I don't know. It's not bad. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. I don't think it's that bad.
No, I'm looking at you because I'm listening.
Okay.
I don't think it's bad either. So why don't we go ahead and dig into the
start? Well, I don't want to. There's a lot that happens. I don't want to like get too much into the
beginning's important, though.
It is.
Because it sets up that our main character, Dweeb Child / Sean / Lucas Black.
Mm-hmm.
This is child adult in high school. I wrote to high school of 30-year-olds. And bear in mind that this film it is very 2006 and also still very much a product of its time.
What part of it are you defending?
Well, back then, if we, because they're like beating up like a mascot that's like an Indian head, like a Native American head.
Oh, right. Oh, my
And
God.
This is back in the time when, high school mascots, weren't problems and they weren't changing and stuff like that. So just to set the scene here, so put your brain back in 2006 time real quick. You got bullies bullying, you talking to my girl,
yeah.
Girls high school girls just don't have agency, like when you're dating a football player. Stuff like that.
Yeah, so he watches. There's like it's like this the opening credits, because there's an actual opening credits scene, and it's pretty all right. There's like a slow motion, like he's going throughout his day at school, and he watches his kid get like assaulted in this bathroom, and the teacher is like asleep.
Yeah,
this is like the shittiest school, and
this
is like they have a really nice like auto shop class, and then what was the other thing there's something else he does.
Well, so he walks out in the parking lot, and then
he doesn't stand up for the kid. He just kind of like
he just
lets
walks
it go.
away. But moving to like the actual important part, so he goes in the parking lot, and his car is parked next to this Viper, like circa 2003 Viper, like bubbly Viper. That's what I call it.
I was saying it wasn't a bubbly one. It was like
round.
It's like a boxier Camaro looking one.
It looked bubbly to me.
Okay.
At least.
I didn't even notice it was a Viper at
5
first, to be
seconds,
honest, because I was like Zachary Ty Bryan.
So we have a babe sitting in a Viper. And
high school babe.
Yeah.
They're high schoolers are very sexualized in this within 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, it's very awkward, and it doesn't help that all the high schoolers also look like they're like in their 30s.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
Very much. It's kind of like Grease, how like the whole cast of Grease is like really old.
Yeah.
Like that. So imagine that, and high schoolers getting sexualized, but they're all in their 30s. It's very uncomfortable to watch.
In the Fast and the Furious universe.
Fast and the Furious, you guys. So first race, the dweeb child starts racing this football player in the Viper because dweeb was talking to his girl. He's like, "You talking to my girl?"
Football player throws a baseball at
through
his car.
Through his windshield, which conveniently in the next shot was not broken. Weird.
So I have to backtrack on that because it does, when it does like go back to like the road shot, and he's getting out, like there's just like a hole in his back windshield, which I guess, and then it's there for the rest of the race that happens. So I will give it that. I have to add that in about the windshield because I did right away call that out.
So they are racing, and basically the girl is like, "Well, whoever wins gets to be my prom date." Da da da. And Dweeb Child is winning against Viper Guy, which is Home Improvement Child, by the way, I should add.
Yeah, Tool Time.
So just these two clunky-ass vehicles are racing through this construction zone. And it's like this new, like, suburb or, like, cul-de-sac is being built. It's just houses.
It's many blocks. There's
blocks.
so many. This town is booming.
Yeah.
They are building so many new houses.
Yeah.
And they're just driving
right through them.
Fuck through it.
Right through, like, all these, like, skeletons of, like, new houses.
Oh, man. So many jobs just got fucked up.
So Dweeb Child wins the race, but he ends up like flipping his car like 16 times.
It's a really brutal wreck because like the Viper crashes into like a
metal, like a cement tube.
It's like a cement, like for like a sewer or something. Yeah. It's like it's like a brutal crash, and they're fine. Well, they're in the ER, and they have like
we watched that and you see the girl's head just slam into like
because it's like a convertible.
Yeah.
Like
I was like, oh my god!
When I was in
broke her face.
When I was in high school, there was a bunch of kids that wrecked in a convertible, like driving drunk, and they were all launched out of the top of the car. Because that's what happens in real life, not this shit. The first part of this movie made me go, oh, this is gonna be so bad. That's what I thought. So cliche. Every trope within 5 minutes.
This was painful to watch. Everything that we've described so far, setting the scene.
Even though I like that, like the main character at first. So I liked him at first. I hate this part of the movie, but I liked him in this because he's not like a pussy. He's not like a little dork main character.
Correct.
Where he's like, ugh, and he has to like learn to stand up for himself. He's just kind of always getting into shit because he's crazy.
Yeah, he's a dweeb.
I guess. I don't know if you and I have the same definition of dweeb.
Well, he just doesn't do anything to like change. He just gets into
absolutely. There's no real arc. It's the, well, I guess it's the part at the end when he like makes the deal, and that's like his arc. He's like, oh, you learn to do things a more clever way or something. But that's it.
Right.
He is kind of just like, he fucks up all the time, and everybody in this movie is like, if you do it one more time, you're gonna go home, go to jail, and then it's just fine.
Then he doesn't go to jail.
Nothing
happens.
So. The crash, the first race, and it results in like he flips his car over really bad, and then he's in trouble.
They're in the hospital.
They're in the hospital, and he's like, well, it's like hospital, also police station.
Yeah, because we see like doctors and nurses, but there are cops here as well. So
this is the first time I'm thinking about it. It's the same building.
Me too. What the heck?
Cops are like, have him in this room, and it's like an interrogation room, like with the lamp and everything.
And like his face is busted.
And I'm guessing that what we'll actually look, I don't remember seeing any nurses. Maybe that's supposed to be like the police station too.
Maybe.
Because then those kids like Tool Time and Horse Slut Girl, they're each respective parent shows up. Like his dad shows up to pick him up, and then her mom. And it made me think at first that they were siblings, and that was like their parents showing up, and I was confused for like half a second.
Well, yeah, it was their parents showing up because the investigator explained that the guy and the girl, they're very rich, so they get off scot-free.
He says
Basically.
he literally. I wrote it down. He goes, "Mommy and Daddy are too hooked up. They're gonna get off scot free,
Yeah.
but not you because you're poor.
Yeah,
you're
it was-
trailer trash."
So if you couldn't tell, everything about this film is just awful from the first second so far, and I definitely hated this beginning. I thought it was slow.
Would you say that possibly, and I don't know because I didn't read anything that said this, but that possibly that whole beginning part of the movie could have almost been tacked on later?
Yes.
Like they went, man, like this movie is kind of missing something.
Honestly, you could have started it at the part where
Him getting off the plane in Japan.
or no, just like his mom being like, "I can't take care of you.
Yeah.
I'm sending you to Japan."
Yeah. His mom could have just been a dope head. Let that be the story.
Yeah.
You know?
So
Now you have to go
we
to Japan.
We do get to see Dweeb's mom because his mom does come pick him up from hospital, jail, prison,
police
ER.
station, hospital.
So and I wrote a note. I just wrote cigarette mom trademark.
Yeah.
So just imagine that. I know you all know exactly what I'm talking about, and Lucas Black looks to be only about 10 years younger than his mom, so like adult child in high school.
She's so disappointed. That's probably
Yeah.
he's been in high school for 13 years.
And mom goes, "Well, I'm sending you to Japan to live with your dad, because Dweeb's dad is a U.S. naval officer." And he seemed, I guess based on what little we saw of him, like some form of established officer of some sort.
They never explain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm right to expect the movie to explain to me why being in the Navy puts him in Japan and living in like downtown Tokyo. Or like I don't know what it's like in Tokyo. And
The
he lives in like
Wikipedia
this
didn't explain.
this shitty like I mean I think it's cool looking, but realistically it looks like a dumpy little fucking apartment.
Well, it just looks like the tiny apartments
I suppose.
you've seen. So
I suppose. And I do like those, but the movie doesn't glorify it here. It makes him he looks like he's all claustrophobic, you know, and like
right. No, I get that.
and this guy is like a naval officer. I don't know. They don't really explain what he does. He's just in the Navy.
Yeah,
And at
come
some
to think
point
of
you
it,
see
that
him.
doesn't make sense either. That
No.
he would be a naval officer, and although what do
I don't know anything about the Navy. So, but I would just think like it just never comes up. You see him in a uniform, kind of a uniform, like once.
right.
Like he's just a security guard. You know, like he's not
No,
really in the Navy.
I don't. Well, no, he definitely is in the Navy. He is decorated a little bit. So, Dweeb makes it to Japan and sees his dad, and he's just extremely ungrateful that he's in this, beautiful country right now. And the film like just keeps taking jabs at like a lot of Japanese culture stuff. Like when he enters high school, like he has to wear the slippers. I'm sorry, there's a siren in the
You
background.
can actually hear that.
You can actually hear that.
Start the episode over.
A half hour in. Welcome to fucking Davenport.
Oh,
There's
well.
just been a sirens every 10 minutes.
So we didn't even.
Let me go back to my thought here.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. Oh yeah, so I was talking about the like jabs at like Japanese culture. So his first day of high school, like he kind of sleeps in. He takes the wrong train. He's just trying to figure out his way. Like he's probably been in Japan less than 24 hours, has jet lag. And when he gets in this classroom, the teacher's trying to explain to him like, you can't wear your shoes, but she's not speaking English and he doesn't understand Japanese. So, and like the film just plays like incidental music, like when he wears the slippers, which, just implying like, oh my God, can you believe this? Which, again, in 2006, that was the time of just like taking jabs at like stuff like that. So that's just one thing like I wanted to make clear, in 2023 vision.
I didn't really get that so much. I was just confused because I'm pretty sure he can speak Japanese.
Well, a little bit, but he just refuses to.
Yeah,
almost.
they don't like. The movie so softly implies that he's been to Japan before, like back and forth, because he's not completely unaware of what goes on here.
But he's also
He's
that
just
unaware
like-
enough that he doesn't know to like not take off your shoes. That's just
Yeah,
Japanese
like,
culture
well, it's
101.
Like he's got to get used to it again or something. Because Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Like, if I'd never been to Japan before, as I haven't, and you just, like, was like, you're moving to Japan tonight, and then I get to Japan, and it's like, you start school tomorrow, and then I wake up, and here's your uniform with a note. How the fuck? What? Like, how do I know what bus to take? Like, it just doesn't... It's so weird how they do it. And maybe I'm thinking about it too much.
Right. So yeah, so they right now they're just painting this scene that like he's miserable, he doesn't want to be in Japan, like even though if it were me I'd be like, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. I will like eat all the food, I'm going to do all the things. So and I was just getting so annoyed at just eye roll this, eye roll that. Very much like the second Fast and Furious film. Everyone had like the same eye roll attitude. Like anytime somebody asked a question, they had to do like this dramatic like turn and look.
Everybody's got to
like
get up in everybody's face.
Yeah, like
over everything.
Yeah, how many times do we write? Are they gonna kiss?
Yeah, yeah.
Kiss right now.
Seeing it right now too. It's like.
Oh yeah, there's a Donkey Kong.
Like everybody's always like this.
Oh yeah, we do have the film muted in the background as well, just to keep us somewhat on track.
And so. Yeah, it's obnoxious. It's still obnoxious. Like, at this point, the movie's still not, like, won me over. You know? I'm just kind of, like, waiting for stuff to happen. But.
So why don't we just skip to the first race? So bear in mind that Dweeb Child does not know how to drift. So he enters this, like, parking garage, like this, like, several stories high parking garage. And basically the race is just getting to the top of the parking garage.
Yeah.
So just like looping around, but you know, it's very tight space. So you just see all these cars, you know, just like drifting around the corners and stuff. And he enters the race and he doesn't know how to drift. So he's like slamming into like every cement pillar.
The character Han.
We haven't talked about Han yet.
Yeah. Well, that's how he gets the car. He's like, you don't have a car. And Han's just like, here you go. And like tosses him his keys and just like lets him take his car in this race. Yeah, and then he just trashes it.
Right.
Which is, I mean, fine. I liked that because at first I was thinking he was just going to like figure it out in this scene and then be really good.
Right.
But like he fucking fucks his car up really bad and it's hilarious.
Yeah, and this is the scene where we are first introduced to our antagonist. So he is called, his name is Takashi. I don't remember his last name. And he's just known as DK, the Drift King. So, and there's even a joke in the film in which the main character is like, oh, it stands for Donkey Kong. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought the same thing. So I just kept writing Donkey Kong. And Han, the other, like, main character, and it's not clear if he's an antagonist or he's, like, on Dweeb's side. He lends him a Nissan. So, yeah, this whole first race scene is just, you know, Nissan Central.
It's when I started to like the movie though, because then once the driving stuff started to happen, which I did like the first race in the beginning, beyond like just all the ridiculousness of it, but like this part was really cool. And like, again, especially because he just wrecks the shit out of that car. You know, he's just not instantly good. And then I realized, oh, he's gonna have to like figure it out, which is cool. You know, the movie didn't ask me to turn my disbelief off that much in that regard.
Yeah, so I mean, it made it very difficult to watch, and then like you brought it up when we were watching, like, you know, I kind of like that he wasn't just immediately good at it. And I thought, you know, you're right. And the fact that it was hard to watch, that the movie was doing its job there. It
gave you you had an emotional reaction.
Yeah, it was
for like a short second.
Well, building up to this, it was just abject disgust at like everything I've watched previously, and then it's just like, oh my god, it's just this kid is such cringe, can't race, wrecking cars.
Yeah, and he's all the whole time he's like, okay, I'll do it, and they just fucks up so bad, and he just loses, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked this. I was excited. I still think it's crazy that there's like thousands of people and they're all like following this race up this parking garage
in the elevators. They're all
they're
cramming
just all
in the
cramming
elevators.
in the elevators.
Oh,
live streaming on flip phones.
Well, they're filming it on flip phones too. So I should mention that.
Well, like later, like there's some people are filming it and other people are watching it in other locations, as if they were live streaming. But this 2006.
Japan was a couple of years ahead of us in terms of that in 2006.
Maybe
though.
I'm unaware of some way.
I am
that
not. I
they
am
did
not
it.
wholly aware, but
Even in 2013, though, I mean, everybody live streaming on phones. I don't know if that would have been happening.
I don't know.
It's cool though. It's cool that we're seeing it in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. So DK wins that race. Donkey Kong wins. There's a really super cool shot of him just going up like one of those like loopy ramps,
Yeah.
like that doesn't go
It's
anywhere.
like-
It's just like a circle. And he drifts like, oh, wait, it's coming up. Is it coming up or did I miss it?
I think it is coming up. Yeah.
So, but like his car just fits perfectly, like,
Yeah.
kind of perpendicular to the walls. And it's an amazing shot. And I wrote, it was like one of my favorite shots.
They
in the
do
film.
like the Fast and the Furious kind of gags where it's like the slow mo zooming in on shit, but they do it to where it's like you see how far away they are from like the wall.
Yeah, he was like, it was like, oh.
I was not expecting the drift stuff to be fun and cool.
I mean,
I thought it was gonna be
yeah.
super dumb and lame, and like most of the driving stuff in this movie is super entertaining.
Right, and I loved the whole Phonk and Stance
Yeah.
soundtrack, like that, like nasty techno. It's called Stance, and if you search it on YouTube, like and listen to like 5 seconds of like a Phonk song, you'd be like, oh, I get
There's
it.
whole Phonk playlists
Yeah.
on Spotify.
I
They're
love
super rad.
Phonk, and there's the shot. See, look,
Yeah.
like right against the wall. Ugh.
It's cool.
Yeah, you guys can't see it, but you gotta trust us. So
But the other thing about the soundtrack too is the shit that comes up later. It's like the worst montage music, like generic like rock
Oh, yeah,
jams,
balls
like
rock.
dun, 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 and it's just there's like two riffs, and that's it. And it's just loops for minutes.
yeah, the rock music sucked in this, but the Phonk was
cool.
fire.
It was all cool.
Yeah, Phonk is spelled Phonk, by the way, for those wanting to go down a music genre rabbit hole. So, moving on, Dweeb gets home from the race. Dad is drunk, and he's like, you know what time it is? And then they start arguing.
He's not like belligerent drunk. It's just they show that he's drank like 7 beers.
Right.
And he's sitting there like,
Bleh.
but he's not like, what the fuck? But he's all stern dad.
Yeah.
He's just the most ineffective dad.
Yeah, and that'll show up more in the film. But so nothing really happens there with the plot, and then
Well, because he keeps doing the if you come home late again, I'm gonna send you home, and if you go home, you're going to jail.
yeah. So
And he
that's,
says that like 3 different times.
right, and that's the only thing of substance. So Dweeb goes to school the next day, and everybody's talking about how he crashed this Nissan. I think it said it was a Nissan Silvia in Wikipedia.
I'm
I had to
not
double
even
check.
gonna try to remember what cars are what because you look them all up.
Well, I mean, I know like the make of it is just like I don't know like the exact. I did look up it was a Silvia, so. Everyone at school is talking about him, so it's one of those shots where he's walking down the hallway and like everybody's like looking at him
It's like,
as
oh,
he
there's-
passes. There he
that's
is.
the boy.
Yeah.
That's the boy.
So not
from-
only is he in this new high school in a foreign country with like no friends, he's just it's very humiliating and cringe to watch. And this is like he meets Bow Wow too. We didn't really talk about Bow Wow. It's
Yeah,
this
well, he
character-
just like runs into him at school, and they're just instantly like.
I can't remember
friends.
that. Yeah, that was before or
Twinkie.
after the race. So yeah, Twinkie, Bow Wow's
That was
character.
before. Well, Bow Wow is the one that takes him to like the special race party.
Okay.
Like, and that's how he ends up there. But again, just a character that really is his only purpose was that, and then. But you were saying you wanted more Bow Wow.
I did because, like when the cars were coming down in like that car elevator, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like he was like excited and like we hadn't seen too much of his character yet or like his expressions or anything, and like he was just like very colorful at the very start of this. Like I didn't really appreciate too much of his acting later, but I don't really think he was given a chance to do anything except just I don't know, he like scams people for stuff, and we just see him like make some expressions like when he gets money. It's just very short shots of him.
Yeah, they don't.
I just wanted to know more about his character because nowhere in the film does it say that, he's also, like, a military kid, and that's why he's living in Japan.
Right, because I remember asking why he was even there.
Right.
And you were like, well, I read on the Wikipedia that he has military parents, and it never comes up in the movie. Yeah.
I mean,
of which you never see. You never see parents of his.
So we see, like, this, kinship between Han and Dweeb Child developing, and I guess it's like I wish I had that with, like, Bow Wow and Dweeb a little bit. Because, like, they hang out a lot.
You think they would have had some common ground.
Yeah.
At least. But I guess that's just enough. But they don't even mention it. So the movie doesn't care.
It
just doesn't care why Bow Wow is also in Tokyo, why he lives there.
So let's move on. So now Dweeb is in cahoots with Han. So that is Donkey Kong's partner.
Yeah,
quote-unquote.
they don't really get into what the partnership is.
It's Yakuza related, probably.
Related, but he says how, like, DK is not actually Yakuza, his uncle is.
His uncle is
he's
Yakuza.
He's just like one of his cronies.
But he acts like a hard ass.
Right, and Han's basically making Dweeb do stuff for him since he wrecked his car and stuff. Yeah. Even though he talks about it later, it's like basically it's like, you seemed cool, and I figured hanging out with you would be a cool thing. It's
Even
like
though he
gives
wrecked
him like
this car, and he's like, "Oh
yeah,
you're
he's
cool."
like, it's like, well, I thought you had a good heart, basically. So I just wanted to see if you could. It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He talks about this.
That's very important too, because the fact that Han says that and sees that in Dweeb Child is going to come back in the end, as you remember.
Yep.
So we'll get to that.
I do have to say though, this movie, despite the fact that I end up just hating Lucas Black, his character's so annoying, but there are, like, emotional beats in this movie, like, that are real.
I agree.
Like, I actually felt things in this movie. The first two movies were just like, ugh, yeah, the whole time, and this actually, like, tries.
Yeah. I was going to reserve my final thoughts for the end.
Well, I mean, I can extrapolate on that later, I suppose, but
yeah, and I mean, I get that. Like, Donkey Kong, for example, is all eye roll and dramatic head turns, which I found just like annoying. Like, I don't know if it was overacting for me that was annoying, or just like he just had such a punchable face this whole time.
He's that antagonist that is just more annoying than threatening, where you're kind of like just want to push him away from the movie and be like, would you get out of the way? Would you leave us alone? Yeah. You always just show up. He just shows up in the middle of stuff and is like, bleh, and punches somebody. And it's really, you're just waiting for him to get his comeuppance. You're not worried for any of these. I'm not afraid of him in this movie, you know? Like, and then you meet his uncle and you're like, it does its job then. Like, oh, now I see who the, possible threat is, even though it's not. The uncle ends up being cool.
So Han has decided to teach Dweeb Child how to drift. And in the meantime, while he's teaching him, he needs to pay back Han, like Lyndon said, for the car that he wrecked. So they go to this fishing dock, and Han lends Dweeb Child this Lancer. So we have Lancers again. So this is like a mid-aughts one. I love Lancers. So that I did know. So he's going to practice on this dock, and these two fishermen are watching them, and it's just like a training montage scene, if you can imagine that. So he's just driving in circles. He's crashing into like stacked up pallets, like crashing into like nets of like garbage.
He's practicing on like these docks. I do like the old fishermen that keep kind of coming back, and like they're kind of laugh, like you see him when he sucks, they're laughing and we like, that you call that drifting. And then
it makes me wonder if they were just there that day when they were filming, and they were like, you want to be some extras?
Yeah.
So that had to have been the case,
we'll give you
right?
new fishing poles.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was funny. Again, movie just kind of like rose upped my spirits a little bit at times when it tried.
Yeah, so I found the training montage to be like a lot of fun. It was very cheeky, is the best way I can put it, and it showed finally that the film had somewhat of a sense of humor and character.
It's all still so cliche.
Well,
Everybody,
definitely.
everything about this movie is so. You've never not seen this, but it seems to be a genuinely fun thing to watch.
Right. Yeah. So we kind of glazed over the club part, but I don't think that was important.
What were their party rooms, and then they go through another one, and then it's like, no, wait, and they walk into this other room, and it's just more colorful.
Yeah, it's just eye crack.
The weird capsules.
Well, the only thing we thought was weird was, like, in this garage, there were, like, capsule pods, like, the ones you sleep in, and there were just people, like, hanging out and talking in them when they had this, like...
It's like, if you don't know what that is, like, Japan, they have, like, these hotels that are, like, each room is more like just a tiny capsule.
Like a cylindrical space.
Yeah, and you sleep in this thing, and there's essentially room for one person. And it's just so weird because in this room they have like a block of 4 of them just up on this platform, and there's just like people hanging out in them.
Right. Yeah, which
was super weird.
Which was kind of weird, and like provided like not all capsule hotels are like super like small or dingy, I guess.
No.
A lot of them are colorful like that, and there is like more space.
This isn't like a crack house situation.
Yeah.
It was like a clean place, but it was just such a weird. When you're used to seeing those just as like a hotel, to see them, they're so out of place.
They
were just out of place.
Yeah, we don't know why that there were capsules in this garage, but moving on. There is a brief 5 minutes. We do see a small bonding moment between Dweeb Child and his dad, because his dad has this Mustang in his garage, like this like mid-60s Mustang. I don't know what year.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't even, honestly, I looked at that thing and I just, because it's like a dusty, colorless chassis, like a shell, and that's it.
It had a shape.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, to me,
okay.
I didn't even look at what the car was.
If I'm wrong and it's not a Mustang, you can...
I think you're right, but...
Fire me from the podcast.
I don't know anything about cars really.
I don't either.
So I'm gonna sound so stupid.
I just know
when
what
it comes
they
to
look like.
Josh King will just message me and tell me what ones we got wrong.
All right, please do, Josh. Thank you. And then we have another initial D montage is what I wrote, except Han has taken Dweeb Child to practice racing up a mountain, so not downhill drifting. He's making him go the other direction, which I don't know if that's harder or easier to practice. I do not know the actual...
I don't even remember that. I don't remember them doing that.
Well, because that's the part they were all sitting on lawn chairs, like around like that dangerous turn, like way too close to this dangerous turn.
Yes,
where
okay.
this inexperienced driver is like flipping out into the walls, and they're just
we've already seen
like
him smash into things with no remorse. Like just goes shit, and it just spins off and does it again.
Yeah,
and they're just fine.
They're just hanging out.
Yeah, whatever.
So there's that montage. There's also another montage kind of interjecting back and forth in which Dweeb Child and Bow Wow are selling items like on the street and flipping for money.
They don't mention this. There's like there's the fight that happens because of the broken iPod that he sold the guy, and he's like, give me my money back, and all that shit that happens. It doesn't matter.
So it's not clear if Bow Wow's character like steals stuff and like hawks it, or like
I think it's like knockoff shit. He's selling like just knockoff products just in general, and there's a whole montage where that's back and forth between drifting training and like selling people stuff on the street, and it's like they're walking away from people counting money going like we're scamming people,
and that the purpose of that was, I assume, to pay Han back for crashing the Nissan in the first race. That's the only thing I can think of.
I guess.
I don't know.
I was confused.
I did check the Wikipedia page for that, and I don't think the
anything.
Wikipedia page understood it, so
it
did leave out quite a bit.
There's at one point, Lucas Black has like 3 different like clock like necklaces on, and they're like selling those. I was just
It
lost.
was, you guys, it was 2006. It was his clock necklace. Okay.
It is 2013 in this universe.
Well, they didn't. They thought 2013 was going to be the same as 2006, I suppose.
Okay, so this shit now is where we get into where I start to realize that the girlfriend character, the love interest in this movie, I also hate.
We haven't talked about her at
No,
all.
so annoying.
That's
and
probably why we haven't talked about her.
like only serves as a conflict between Dweeb and Donkey Kong.
So
And
her name is Neela, and she is Donkey Kong's girlfriend. It's important to know that she is also not Japanese, because Donkey Kong keeps calling Dweeb child Gaijin, which kind of means foreigner, a very derogatory term for like a foreigner in Japan. And it comes up later, like when he keeps calling like Dweeb child that, she goes, well, I'm Gaijin, you're gonna start calling me that. And
I was so annoyed. Just every time she's on screen, not necessarily her acting, even though she's very like that. It's just like that very cliche, wispy girl love interest character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I'm like,
yeah, I don't. She doesn't express a lot of emotion.
Do
so
anything.
That's why, honestly, I guess that's why we haven't mentioned her yet. Because
beyond.
I don't know what else to say about her because she's. I don't know. I wrote because it's coming up where Neela and Dweeb Child go on this date, and bear in mind, Neela is still dating Donkey Kong, and it's not really a date. I can't tell. It's like in their school cafeteria, and she's trying to act all mysterious. And I wrote, Neela trying to act all mysterious absolutely is not mysterious.
Yeah.
That's all I wrote in my notes.
The whole time she's talking about herself, I'm just thinking how much I don't care.
Well, she said that she is in Japan because her mom died. And that's all I wrote. And
right.
So,
I mean,
I'm guessing that she's also there because of like military reasons, much like everyone else, but it's not clear.
He says that to her. He's like, I bet I can guess who you are. You're a military brat. That blah, 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 blah.
Well, I think he was just trying to make fun of her. I don't think he, she did not confirm or deny that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It did come up.
Yeah.
But overall, I just bled. But there was this part, kind of where we're at in the movie, at least from talking about it, is when he's in the car with her after like, doing drift training, and she's just like talking about like, I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was supposed so. They're just going up this mountain or down this mountain. I can't remember. It's just like a train of people just like drifting, and they're all caravanning together.
It's so quiet and sleepy too.
Well, I really liked that scene. It was very cool because they shot it from like overhead, and you just see like everybody caravanning and like all in sync with each other. So that was kind of cool.
That was cool. But
not the best
if
scene,
it
but I
would
really
have just
liked it.
been that.
Yeah, and not the talking.
And not the talking, not the dumb
and just
characters
some, like,
doing stuff.
Put some music over it. I just would have dug that. Yeah.
There's hours of that on YouTube I can just watch and will.
But, yeah.
But I don't know. This was kind of one of those moments where it's like I'm watching a monster movie and the characters are talking and I'm just like, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get back to the monster movie, and I just didn't care about her. I was done. That's just where I was at in my notes because I wrote blah blah blah.
Okay, so Dweeb beats Donkey Kong's right-hand man. So this is a very important part because now Dweeb has Donkey Kong's attention. So after a lot of drift training, so uphill and downhill drift training, Dweeb races Donkey Kong's like super crust punk looking buddy, his like first mate, I guess.
Well, they kind of like blended into the montage because I didn't realize what was happening, and then you see him freaking out because he lost.
I know. That's the part where I wrote earns the people's ovation forever.
Yeah,
it's like it's Iron Chef.
Iron Chef.
You win,
reference.
you will earn the people's ovation.
It was great. I mean, I was just it kind of took me back because I guess I was kind of just drifting off during that montage. And suddenly he's racing him, beats him. And then And what happens? I don't remember what happens after
So,
he beats him. He's like,
so it cuts to like all those nighttime overhead drift shots we were talking about, and then it makes another whiplash cut to we meet Uncle Yakuza Boss Man, so Donkey Kong's uncle. So,
right.
So Yakuza Boss Man uncle person, I don't recall if they ever said his name. He visits Donkey Kong.
It's Kamada-san.
You're right. Thank you. I did not write it down. So
I didn't either.
So he visits Donkey Kong, and this is like Donkey Kong's attitude, complete 180. You know, isn't being sneering or have an attitude.
Well, he's obviously super scared of his uncle.
He's very, very scared of his uncle, and he's being very polite, you know, bowing a lot, etc. So he lets his uncle sit in like his chair at his desk, and his uncle's like, well, you know, if you were smart, you'd know your business partner Han is stealing from you. So, and that's the first time we see Donkey Kong have any semblance of an emotion that isn't a fucking eye roll.
Yeah.
Good Lord. It was very refreshing to see that scene, to see, like, you know, he is a person.
And it ends after that.
Yeah, and it just ends, and we don't see too much more of that until
Well, there's a really,
end.
like, weird interaction he has with Neela, and she comes in, and he's, like, super just, like, oh, like he owns her kind of shit.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
that
this
weird
is
stuff.
more creepy
2006
stuff, so we don't have to explain that.
No. But then there's the whole thing. He shows up at Han's garage to confront him and beats him up.
He brings a gun.
Guns come out, and then
It's the first gun we've seen in the whole film.
it is, yeah. This is so. This chase is cool because they all get in their cars and there's this scuffle and they all get in their cars and they're all Han's getting chased by Donkey Kong and everybody else is behind. It's a super dope chase.
Oh yeah, this was that crazy highway chase,
Uh-huh.
right? Okay.
Yeah, and there's like like incorporating drifting into like an action scene for the first time.
Right.
It's not like a race.
Yeah, so this scene was a lot of fun. So they were going down a lot of many crowded, like, you know, Tokyo streets and like freeway looking roads. And it was very colorful because, like, you know, we did get to see a lot of downtown. And we did see one explosion. There was only one explosion, and that's when...
Yeah. This Han crashes, a wicked crash. Again, I do remember seeing this crash in the trailer. This is the one that was all over the trailer, which would have sucked going to see it. These movies always spoil like a big wreck that results in either like the end of the movie or like a character dying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess Too Fast didn't really have much there, but still, sad though. I was bummed, even though I'd already been told, like, multiple of you pieces of shit that I know always mentioned something about Han dying, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Turns out he's like my favorite character in the movie,
and
he dies. Super sad. I know he comes back later because once we start getting into the other movies that have happened before this, technically.
Yeah, technically.
He does show up, so that's cool, I guess.
There was a really cool... I'll mention this was the scene where... so they're just racing, and they're in this extremely crowded, like, downtown crosswalk with, like, there's hundreds of people. And basically these people just part... the way for these
really
cars to drift through, like, you know, like these swarms of people just running out of the way, and it's another overhead shot from way far up, and it looks wild.
It was really cool. There's a lot of like overhead, like large shots of crowds, and it's really obvious that it's CG because it's ridiculously crowded streets, like it's a festival. But that was really cool, and honestly, it works. It's in like slow motion, and you know, definitely eye crack. This whole part was really cool.
Yeah.
I was excited about this movie. I was excited.
Yeah, this is where I started getting like a little more hype about it, was after, you know, seeing all the stunts there.
You know, like, again, I think despite still hating the main character and, you know, overall just not caring about what happens, I like the melding the racing stuff with like the thriller action crime stuff a little bit more than they have in the other movies, where it's, I'm surprised by a race. I'm surprised by a chase scene that happens. It all kind of is seamless. It flows a lot better in those terms, like in my eyes.
I
from
agree.
what I see.
I agree.
It's worst, most hated one out of all of these movies.
Well, I did mention too that it does have a following as and is
Yeah.
considered the first or second best too.
I can get it, and I can see it. Like, it's not surprising that this director does the rest of them, because, I mean, it's not great,
No.
but Too Fast, Too Furious was dog shit
It was
compared to this. That's saying a lot.
I'm still saving my final thoughts for the
I'm
end here,
I'm not even. Those aren't even my final thoughts.
Jeez Louise.
So
So plugging along.
I have to stop snorting into the microphone. I'm sorry.
So they get back home, or I guess Dweeb Child gets back home to his dad, and then excuse me, and then Donkey Kong follows him to his house, and this is where he draws the gun on Dweeb Child, and he's like, Neela's coming with me, and then Dad comes outside and points a gun at Donkey Kong, and now we have a standoff, and Neela's like, okay, whatever, I'll go with you, just nobody shoot anybody. So then that scene ends, like, all right, that was a thing that happened.
I already forgot
there
about it.
was no tension in it because it was like 30 seconds.
And Dad doesn't say anything like,
it did
"Man,
not make me feel remotely
your girlfriend's
tense,
not in a good
and it did
relationship."
not evoke any emotion.
No, I didn't really care. But I was also kind of like, I don't know. I didn't believe it. Didn't believe that scene at all.
So basically we now have this situation where we have to like rescue Neela in a sense. And the way to go about this is Dweeb Child has this bag of money from Bow Wow, and he goes to that was it Donkey Kong's uncle he visited?
Yep.
Kawada?
Yeah.
Was that him?
Kamada.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Kamada-san.
Kamada-san. And so he goes to visit his uncle, and he has like this huge ass bag of money, and he says, well, I'm going to settle this once and for all, just one race, me and Donkey Kong. Whoever loses has to leave Tokyo.
Well, he gives him the money because he's like, this is what was it his cut or something from?
It's whatever Han was stealing from Donkey Kong, which I have no fucking clue. Could not
that just
follow.
comes out of nowhere.
Did not know.
They don't even explain it.
I don't even understand. Like, was it because like car repairs? Was it like all the money he was spending on?
They don't explain it.
They don't. That's why I'm just.
That's what I'm saying earlier. Is there's no really like explanation as to what their partnership is. They're just partners.
People who know what's going on, please tell us.
No, I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna watch this movie
People
again
are
ever. Whatever my opinion is of it after this is it.
So, Uncle Yakuza Man says, sure, let's do a race. That's fine. So then we enter another montage in which Dweeb Child is rebuilding the Mustang in Dad's garage now. And he's going
they
to
take the engine out of the first car that he wrecked.
Correct. So they take the engine out of that Nissan that he wrecked initially in the first race. They put it in the Mustang. And then it's just a montage of him, drifting on the mountain they're going to race on. And they're trying to tune this Mustang to be a drift car, which is kind of interesting to see, and I was super into that. So.
I was watching this going, could you do that to a Mustang? I don't think you could. I don't know anything about cars or drift cars or what you need or what you can't use. But it was interesting to see.
You see, I really don't know too much either, but I do know that traditionally a Mustang is not a drift vehicle.
Right.
So that's why it was super cool to see.
I'm pretty sure they're into muscle cars over there for sure.
For sure. There is a lot of
there's a big thing for that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. It probably does exist, but in 2006 at this point, I don't know.
So we get this Mustang into tip-top shape, and so now we're going to enter the final race scene, which I was very excited about this. So it's going to be Dweeb versus Donkey Kong, and this is the final race to see who gets banned from the city and has to leave.
Yeah, which is funny that the uncle agrees to this because he's
I don't know
just
why.
like, I'll make my nephew leave town. or something, or maybe it's I don't know.
They play by their own rules, you know.
Well, because
so.
he takes them. I didn't even really think about it till now. Yeah. Anyways, the race is cool though.
Right. I did note. I don't know why I wrote down "dweeb makes weird face." Oh, that was that face he made where he was like, bleh! Like that close up. He was sticking out his tongue, like actually focusing on driving.
I don't remember.
No,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was. He was probably. I bet you was supposed to make a more serious face, but he just ended up making a. Bleh!
He does kind of have like a goofer face.
There are more flip phones again.
I still don't get it.
So the important thing
what
about
were they doing?
I don't know. Well, this race is super important because Donkey Kong is the only person who's made it to the bottom of this mountain, or the only person who's won races on this mountain, or something.
Neela says he's the only. DK is the only one to make it down the mountain.
I find
make
that
it
hard
to the bottom.
I find that hard to believe.
That's verbatim what I said when we were watching it. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Like, do you? Obviously, people drive down this mountain.
Right.
All
I
the
guess
time.
in a racing way, he's the only one to go down it fast.
Was he the only? It's unclear. It's like, is he the only person who's won first place? Is he the only person who's survived?
Right, because they
how
say
many people have died?
Because they say earlier, it's like racers since such and such many years ago have raced up and down this mountain. But this guy who's like 20, he's the only one to make it down.
I find that hard to believe.
I don't understand.
So the final race, and I was super excited to watch this because there were so many moments I was just like, oh, it's just like Initial D. It's just like Initial D. I super like Initial D. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm not ashamed.
I've never watched it. I've only played the arcade game when we went to Galloping Ghost.
Well, after this,
fun.
I'll just show you the first episode, or at least the first important race. And you'll be like, oh, you're right. That was like frame for frame, like almost. Like
I believe it.
So it was exciting. They just did drifting stuff down. I know I say it was exciting, then you're like, okay, Emily, well, what happened that made it exciting?
no. I mean, you don't.
It was
We
just
don't have to go through the whole thing. That was like.
Well, there was
It
just.
was a pretty long race. It was a good.
It was really long.
I found it to be slightly anticlimactic, like climax
Well,
for
there
a
was
movie.
that huge ass, like, Takashi tried to knock him off that cliff,
and
then he falls off that cliff, and then
It
Dweeb
gets
Child,
to bumping. Every race in this movie gets to bumping.
at the very end of the finish line, so Takashi, sorry, I keep calling Takashi, Donkey Kong, whose real name is Takashi, that I decided to call him by his real first name now. So Donkey Kong ends up flipping off, like, the side of, like, this, smaller cliff face, like going through like a guardrail, like on a turn. And Dweeb Child is rounding the mountain at the point where Donkey Kong is going to land on him by the time he reaches
It was pretty cool.
the finish line. And it was like this slow-mo, like instant, like Matrix dodge moment that Dweeb Child did to avoid running into Donkey Kong's car.
Yeah,
as fell.
it was kind of like you could kind of tell, like when he comes around the corner, you kind of tell they just had it like hanging from like a crane, and they just dropped it because it's like kind of drops like straight down.
Well, yeah. In hindsight, now I see that.
Well,
It
yeah.
didn't ruin the moment. The movie magic.
It's still magical.
It's still
This
magical.
It's still magic to me. But it was cool. I thought it was a kind of a clever part. I don't know if it would have actually worked like that. I feel like that car would have worked, but I'm not gonna fucking pick it that much apart.
I thought it's a Fast and the Furious movie.
Exactly.
You say that to me all the time.
I
You're like,
know.
I think you're taking it too seriously.
seriously.
You're reading into
Yeah,
it too
you're
much.
going-
And
it's
now here
thinking
you
about
are.
it too much.
I don't know if this car that would have flipped off this fucking mountain would have
Does
landed
the timing
like this.
work? I mean, he gets around the corner in about a half a sec. I don't know. Obviously,
It was fun.
it was fun. It was cool. I mean,
So-
a fair end.
So Dweeb Child wins the race. He earns the people's ovation forever.
Uncle Kamada's just like, okay, you're cool.
No, he literally just says that. He says you're free to go.
You're free to go.
That's the only, and then that's
Does
it.
not
That's that.
care that his nephew is like possibly horribly injured.
Yeah,
Who
nobody
rolled
cares
down
that
the
he's
side.
horribly
No,
injured.
nobody gives a fuck. Well, there's a funny part when like there's the reaction, like the crowd reaction to Donkey Kong crashing, and everyone goes, "Oh!" and then almost immediately goes, "Yeah!" because they see that like he's won, but it's just one shot.
Yeah.
Like it's like Donkey Kong crashes and you just hear. Oh no, that's the wrong one. There we go. Like I just wanted to use that.
You're unbelievable.
I know, but it's still fine. It was a cool race, cool enough scene. Only like one CGI car part on that.
Right. So now we have this little nice vignette tacked on the end, the post-race. So what happens now? So Donkey Kong, we have no idea. He's just not seen anymore. So we assume that he skipped town. And we are back in that, what I assume must be the same parking garage or another similar one for a race. And Dweebchild is he in a Mustang or is he in the Lancer again? I can't remember. But it's setting up like the scene for like another race is gonna happen.
Oh, when he rolls into the oh yeah, okay. I don't remember. I don't think it's the Mustang.
It was the Lancer.
I think it is the Lancer.
Someone will correct us.
Well, because he rolls up next to Vin Diesel.
Right. So
I don't want to build up the cameo too much. Everybody knows it's
I know. I
coming
see
anyways.
this in your notes. So this is the important part, and this is where we circle back to Han and Han passing away.
Yeah. Well, because this is the first mention of family in this franchise, and I didn't know it happened so soon.
It.
Well, because they work it in that it's like there's this guy who's here to race you. He's been beating people all over Asia, they say, and he used to roll with Han. And he pulls up next to him, and it's Vin Diesel, Dom Toretto.
Dom Toretto returns for 5
Thinking
seconds.
about how much he can't wait to make Riddick 3. He's so excited about the character Riddick.
Yeah.
He's going to do so many Riddick movies.
So, yep, and then, so Han was family. Dom is back.
Sorry,
and
I forgot to actually say that part.
And then the film ends... Basically.
Like, it does just end.
Mm-hmm.
With no... They're just going to race.
It just sets
There's
up
no,
film.
like Dweeb's not set up to do anything else. He's not in this franchise for the rest of the movies. I don't know.
I have no idea. I didn't look it up.
I didn't either.
I looked up enough to get through this film. So final thoughts. First thing that catches my eye.
It's only been an hour. It feels like 2 hours.
That's not the correct turn of phrase. So first thing on my mind is the movie is actually about street racing. So if you recall, one of my big criticisms about the previous 2 films was it focused on some other plot in which street racing was tacked onto, or street racing was just used as a tool to move the plot from like one point A to point B, and it wasn't those films weren't street racing centric. This one is, so that's why I understand why people enjoy it so much, I guess, despite like bad acting. Racing stunts were very cool. All the locations were very pretty, especially like all those downtown lights. It was all very aesthetic. Actually in Tokyo,
right?
But yeah, it's so. I mean, I liked it, but at the same time, I have my drawbacks about it. I read this one quote by a critic whose name I can't remember. He stated, "It's not much of a movie, but it's a hell of a ride," and I think that sums up what I think pretty well. What about you? I mean, I'm gonna have more to say too.
I mean, I would give it more credit than that. I feel like it's different enough. Like Too Fast, Too Furious, I knew my thoughts on that were going to change after I watched this one. Whether for better or for worse, for sure.
Right.
And I like this a lot better. Yeah, there's things about it that were so stupid, but the stuff about it that worked, and like the pacing, it's only an hour and 44 minutes, which I guess I haven't had any complaint about the length of any of these so far.
No, they all, that's the nice
They
thing.
keep
like,
them
all
trimmed.
all these films move at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
This one didn't have a ton of like slow shit where I was annoyed.
This one, I felt that there was more whiplash between
Total
scenes.
that I would agree. Yeah, like
It moved at a good clip, but a lot of whiplash.
kind of out of nowhere things are happening. I'm like, whoa, like, you know, but it won where Too Fast, Too Furious failed. The stuff that was meant to be exciting was exciting.
There was no rat bucket.
There was, man, if there would have been like an equal to rat bucket in this movie, I don't know. It might have ruined it if it was that ridiculous. I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't as bad.
No,
it wasn't bad at all.
I agree. I just have drawbacks still about the acting.
Oh yeah, well no, totally. That's absolutely.
You're just looking at me like with such a pained glare, as if like.
Well, I just
like, do you
it's
not
because
understand? It's not
for
bad.
for years. First of all, for years I spent years thinking this was the second movie, and how stupid that was.
Yeah, it is.
And then just believing everybody. I mean, I remember seeing the first 10 minutes of this at some point, like 10 years ago, maybe.
Right.
And just didn't think anything of it. It must have been on TV or something. I don't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm surprised. I wasn't excited to watch this. I was like ready to get through this. You know, I was excited. I expected we were just gonna dog on this the whole time. You know,
I did too.
And surprisingly, it was entertaining. It was a lot better than that last pile of shit. And I feel like that's gonna continue.
Yeah, this did evoke more emotion than boredom in me. Like I mentioned in the beginning, like the beginning was so annoying. Like some of it was, you know, annoying because it was supposed to be like dweeb child not being able to drive. Other parts of it, like the whole high school thing and like the culture of that, like it was just gross. And you know, because like remember this came out in 2006, so like we would have been in high school still. So maybe I just think it's gross because it's just like I'm remembering like high school and like, you know, just that's how it looked. I don't know. I didn't really feel that so much from this. I was just. Well, it's also gross because, you know, 30-year-olds playing high schoolers.
Well, yeah, that's annoying. I mean, high school kids have anything to do with this movie is annoying. I don't know. There's no point in having him be a high schooler.
So yeah, I genuinely did feel bad when Han, you know, tragically died.
Yeah, that was again emotional like reaction from something that happened. I was like, oh, I liked that character, and that's
right. You know, and even I said, you know, I liked Bow Wow too, like the short stint he had.
Yeah.
You know, because his character was very similar to Ludacris in the second movie.
He was kind of the Ludacris.
And like, you know, if you remember, I said that like I really like Ludacris and Devin Aoki and like what they did. So Bow Wow was kind of like that character. Mm-hmm. And I guess I just like super like the Fast and the Furious side characters so far because I haven't seen one I disliked yet. Because I like Skyline Child. In the first film. Yeah. So
see, that's I want to say that is also a recurring thing, not like with other characters. Like I've seen Hobbs and Shaw. Mm-hmm. And I'm legitimately excited to watch that again because I liked that a lot. Mm-hmm. And those characters are funny, you know. And you see some other characters in that movie that appear in and out of these movies,
right?
So there are definitely, and I know Ludacris comes back later, so don't worry.
Oh, cool.
Get your fill
of
Ludacris.
Cool.
But yeah, I liked it.
I did too. So. I mean, since we've only viewed 3 of these, and, you know, I'm going to have to give a ranking, what I'm going to say is, so Tokyo Drift is going to be my number 1 currently, with the first Fast and the Furious film as my number 2, and Too Fast, Too Furious as my third.
You're going to rank them, okay.
Well, okay, if I wanted to give it a grade, I mean, I would give it...
No, you can do both. I'm fine with ranking them. Well, you want to rank them?
Well, yeah, just to give context as to where it stands with other films. The film itself, I gave pretty low scores to the previous films. I know they were like both like C minuses. So this gets a solid B from me. Tokyo Drift gets a B. The acting was still kind of
Here's the thing.
Neela wasn't
I'm not
a great character. And
I am so not judging I am not judging hardly any of this on acting, unless it's annoying. If it's just straight up annoying, but beyond that, I'm not expecting like, you know, award-winning performances here. Although I do like Han a lot, and I like that
Han,
actor a
too.
lot.
I mean, I'm not judging it on like too much acting either, but it still wasn't great, and it still was annoying. And like you mentioned earlier, we don't see Dweeb's character develop too much. Like he's just a dumbass, and even at the end of the film, I still feel like he's a dumbass that probably hasn't taken too much away.
It's so weird because there are times that the movie implies that he kind of knows his way around Japan more so than he lets on, but his character is still very much like, that's how y'all do it around here, huh?
Yeah.
Like, well, I can't believe it. Blah, 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 blah. And
I think what got me was, people overacting, like, certain, like, stereotypes as well. Like, that was just annoying and cheesy.
Again, just cliched. I mean, this whole movie is cliched.
That's the word I was looking for.
I would say if it didn't take place in Japan and it was just in, like, New York or something, it would be... Oh, my God.
It would,
it would disappear amongst the air.
It would be that...
It would be the
it would
most
have the piss filter again.
It would be the most generic pile of shit. I think that Japan saves this movie. Thank you, Japan.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should add that, in 2006, so this is kind of the era of the Twilight filter. So, like, everything is, like, super blue and purple. We've,
In this?
I thought so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was...
Except for the Yakuza part, it was, like, more, like, green and...
I didn't really notice. To me, I mean, looking at it right now as it plays, I feel like it's just kind of blah. It's kind of
this
bland.
Is Twilight filter. This is all blue. This is vampire filter here.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just colorblind. It just looks black and white.
Well, I mean, I
it
just
looks
pay
black and
attention
white to
that.
me. Anyways, your rankings. You didn't finish your rankings. This is your first.
Yeah, and the first Fast and the Furious will be my second ranked one, and
Too Fast is
last. Right
I would say that too.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that too. I would totally agree with that. I gave this a B+.
Okay, well, and here you are. You're like, well, you just gave it a B.
Well, I didn't say anything about you giving it a B.
I'm not trying to judge it on act.
No, my B+ is none of that's really based on the acting.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't base it on acting.
The acting was a bit of a drawback, and it takes it out of the excitement.
My
sometimes.
grade is my grade.
Okay, so what edge gave it that plus? I suppose.
Well, I mean, I guess I said a version of what you said. I guess I could agree. Is you said it's actually about street racing. And before we started recording, I had said how I liked how it blended the street racing with like the other like kind of like crime actiony stuff.
But
whatever.
the crime action stuff wasn't the focus of it
No,
like the previous.
exactly.
That's very important.
Exactly. And like the street racing like kind of pushed that along.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they affected each other. It wasn't like, I don't know. I liked the way it was. I still hated the main character. He's like you said, no arc. He doesn't do anything. His attitude doesn't really change beyond like him taking that money to the uncle and being like, okay, like I'm going to be clever about this. And that's it. That's all he does.
Mm-hmm.
But still fun movie. And I would literally be like, don't expect it to be good. But if you haven't seen it and you're curious, it's for sure not the worst.
No.
For sure not the worst. The other movies would have to be so amazing that I cannot even acknowledge that any of the other movies exist at this point. Otherwise, this is fine.
Yeah, this is
I can understand why people would have hated it when it came out. Totally makes sense.
I agree, and this makes me look forward to the next films we're gonna watch. So
Yeah, I'm so ready.
So I mean, despite my criticisms and stuff, and it's like I'm still sticking around despite the cheesy acting and whatnot. I'm still looking forward to the next film.
I am finally to the point where I'm really looking forward to it because now I'm invested. We're not dead yet. And really, before we go, I would just say that I expected to be miserable by this point in these movies. Like, I expected to be so done and so tired of it because the first one was gonna be really bad. Was gonna be worse than I remember. Too Fast was gonna be unwatchable. This was gonna be the worst thing I ever saw, and none of them have been that so far.
Well, Too Fast was like quickly.
I mean, after watching this, Too Fast does look like a goddamn kindergartner made it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you are interested in watching these, I mean, I'd recommend skipping over Too Fast. Like, even though the first one,
you don't need to watch it.
Even though the first one isn't like great, it kind of just establishes stuff. I wouldn't skip over the first one.
You really don't even need to watch this movie in terms of like, I guess canon. It really doesn't. To my knowledge, it really doesn't make any difference.
Oh, it's very colorful and fun though, so watch it for that.
It's worth a watch. It's okay. But that's it. A B+ for me.
Cool.
Watch it.
Solid B for me.
Yeah. All right.
I got nothing.
No.
Hope you have a wonderful night or afternoon or morning. Whenever you're listening.
Subscribe. If I don't know if you're listening to this on YouTube and you have Spotify, subscribe to us on Spotify. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, find our YouTube channel.
Then go subscribe to that and forget about it.
Yeah. And I don't have anything else.
We don't take this too seriously.
No. How could we? How could we?
So this is Non-Essential Fountains.
Signing
out.
Signing out, and we'll be back with... What's the next one?
The fourth one.
The fourth one.
I don't know what the title
Four
is.
Fast.
Four Fast, Four Furious.
You heard it here.
Good night.
Good night.